everyone, and welcome to my channel called Zuzanareacts, where I learn all about Barra with your help, and I just share my point of view as someone from Central Europe, more particularly Slovakia. And today we're going to look into Indian villages as experienced by your favorite Carolina India in details. And with that being said, I will bring up the video, and I'm just very curious how she has experienced different villages and what it actually kind of means for a foreigner to travel through. So I'm just super excited to kick off this party.
Traveling in India can easily be the most fulfilling experience for a foreigner, and sometimes, if there is a place where some of the strangest and the most memorable things could happen, it is also India. So, based on these 6 incidents, let's see how India treated me when I was unmarried, and also how Indians treated me when I traveled around their country with our child. So, this incident took place in Maharashtra around the Ajanta and Ellora caves. We had spent the entire day exploring and admiring the majestic caves. It was getting dark, we were all very exhausted and hungry, and wanted to return to our hotel as soon as possible. There was a local guy who appeared very friendly and asked us to visit his house in his village, which was just a few minutes' walk from the caves. We were a group of 4, 2 girls and 2 boys. And of course, my then boyfriend Anurag was with us too. As soon as I entered the village, we were greeted by so many happy children who surrounded us and played with us. These children appeared to me far happier than the average child in Europe. Of course, as for the local guy who took us to his home, we met his old mother, his entire family, and even some neighbors. Anurag spotted something that they call khat or charpai in India. He wanted us to experience how it feels to lie down on that, because he said he had spent years sleeping on something similar while growing up. To be honest, I didn't find it that comfortable. Anyway, this was the first time I ate homemade.
Oh wow, that's interesting. First of all, if someone did that in Europe, they would think that they just want to go and kill you and do something with you. I don't think anyone here would take upon like a stranger offer. I think it would be very perceived very dangerous, just so you know. And the chapai or whatever she called that, it's interesting because I know, like, let's say from my dad, when they were young and they were growing up, they had, so not like a proper mattresses that we have right now, but they made a mattress out of hay or out of dry hay, and he said that apparently it's like the best sleep ever. So interesting that in a way you have something similar. It's not a hay, it's something different, but interesting.
Chapati in India, something I will never forget. The second incident was actually a bit embarrassing, and I think it happened in Tamil Nadu. So back then, our child had developed a habit of finding the wardrobe in a house, going inside it, and emptying it almost completely by throwing out all the clothes.
Lovely.
Even my husband had scolded him a few
क्या कर रहे हो
times.
ये ऐसे करते हैं ये पापा के कपड़े हैं
Now, we were in our host's place in Tamil Nadu, and our son found their wardrobe and did the same. To be honest, I was a bit embarrassed, but our hosts were so kind and loving that they didn't mind at all. We even had chettinad veg curry, a taste so amazing that I will never forget it. And of course, I can still feel the elephant's trunk on my head. That happened in a temple near Chennai.
Wow.
The third incident took place in Mizoram. My husband has some special fascination for waterfalls, but I'm always a little afraid to join him. On that particular day, as my husband went out to look for a waterfall, I decided to stay in the hotel, which was actually homestay accommodation. The owners of the property had a little grocery store, and that became our son's playground. There was an old lady and so many kids. Trust me, they all were so kind to him that our son never wanted to leave them. Now, this particular incident happened in Jharkhand. Again, our little child had found lots of friends. He was out with them for the entire day. He even had some piano lessons. It was absolutely overwhelming to experience their unconditional love, generosity, hospitality, and happiness.
अरे ये कैसे संगीतकार भाग गए
On this occasion, we
Oh, that's very interesting. It's in here, at least in Slovakia, we feel like we're a very hospitable country, but I'm not too sure that would be that level of hospitable. I think like now the world has moved on and we're obviously more westernized in a way, if you like, and everyone just in a way want to mind their own business. So I'm not entirely sure how that would be perceived here, even in villages. I think that people here are very afraid of foreigners, because historically this is a very wide region. So everywhere, Slav people are white people. So everything outside of this that people perceive with suspicion. I think that there are good people here. It is just um for sure, I would say that Slovak people are racist, and I don't say that lightly, but I think it doesn't come from a fact that they just really don't like other countries or nations. I think it comes from the fact that they're scared because it's just a very, very small country, very small mentality. And I think it just comes from what I've seen. It comes from the fact that they're scared that someone is going to hurt them. Sometimes someone is going to, get they do something bad to them. So that is a bit where I think if we talk about where people perhaps wouldn't be maybe that welcoming to foreigners is from, because we haven't had exposure to different countries and nations. But let's continue.
We were driving around a small town in Maharashtra. It was a tribal area with almost no restaurants. Our driver figured out that we were a bit hungry, as our lunch was already delayed. I was with my husband and son. Suddenly, our driver stopped the car and, very politely, asked if we would allow him to take us to his home, which was around the corner. We said yes, and of course, we received unbelievable hospitality from his family. His mother made fresh puran poli for us. They welcomed me in their traditional style. His family even gave us gifts. I was so emotional and could hardly hold back my tears. And finally, incident number 6. This was the first Indian wedding that I properly experienced, apart from my own, of course. One aspect that caught my attention was that there were no restrictions for anyone when it came to guests. Almost anyone, regardless of their religion or financial status, could enter, enjoy the feast, and participate. In
Wow.
Europe, we usually count the number of guests, and the specific number of seats are assigned in advance according to the number of guests who are expected. But in India, celebrations and happiness have no barriers and no restrictions. By the way, I want our viewers to know that we are putting the final touches to the 10th episode of the Should India Follow the West Blindly series, and we expect it to.
Okay, so I believe that's it to her experience. Very, very interesting. I I never really seen an Indian wedding and what it all looks like. I know it's all like glorious, but just so you know, the weddings in here definitely counted for, and the weddings differ from the traditions differ from different European countries, and I can only almost compare Slovakia and the UK. Obviously, the guests are counted because it costs a lot of money to throw a wedding, and these days, actually, young people would particularly rather not even have a wedding because it basically costs like a small fortune. Like you could almost buy a house or a small apartment for the cost of the wedding. So basically every restaurant that you go to, they have a seating, and they will ask you, like they will say, like, let's say it's a 50 or 100 euros for one person. So you have to, as a bride or a groom, depends on, like the circumstances, but there's also a tradition who pays for what. You have to pay for that. So it's a lot of money. But when it comes to Slovak weddings, for example, you would provide everything, whereas in the UK it's that more expensive. So I believe in the UK the weddings are a bit more smaller. And what's funny there is that you have to pay for your own drinks. I think that the food is provided, but for drinks you have to go to the bar and pay, which doesn't happen in Slovakia. So when it's like Slovak people, let's say, marry English people come here, they're just like so over the moon that they can drink up at one of the things. But you see, like, there are differences even in here. But wow, that is amazing. I love the kind nature of people, which perhaps here would be because I think in the West, like, because of like so much crime, and like you would have an older generation saying like all bad things that come to Slovakia are from the US, and from like the culture that is shown in their movies, etc. Like it's rubbing off on people, and people stop trusting people. And you can be friendly and kind amongst the family, but it's a bit trickier these days, definitely with a stranger. I think when it comes to villages, I think that would be actually even more apprehensive, because they're more isolated, so they're maybe a bit more apprehensive to the stranger. That's just my wild assumption and call. But sure, there are lots of good and kind people here as well that would host you. But because of what has been, over the last couple of decades perpetuated from the West, people are becoming a bit more apprehensive of who they let in their homes. And you would perhaps rather have someone refer to you to like kind of like a church provided accommodation where people can go and stay, and then like people would go and bring them food there, etc., rather than stay in their houses anymore. But wow, this is amazing. I wonder what it's like. If you feel like this is the accurate representation of how people in villages in India like, or if you would take any foreigner in your home and host them just because, I'd love to know. So I think this is it for today's video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, share, like, and subscribe to this channel. And I want to send so much love back to you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, please do take care, and bye-bye.